Good morning, everybody. I would like to thank Rabbi Davidowitz and Rabbi Robinson for this amazing opportunity to share with you all some stories and some thoughts regarding my special father, Rabbi Chanina Herzberg, Rabbi Chanina Getzel ben Reb Moshe. It's his second Yartzeit today, Ches Teves, and they invited me to prepare a video to be shared with all of you. Le'iloi Nishmasai. When we shared stories about tzaddikim and good people, there's a point to sharing them. The point is that we could learn from their lives, and by learning from their lives, we improve our own lives, and we become better Ovdei Hashem, better people who serve Hashem. My father himself, he loved to share Sipurei Tzadikim, stories about Tzadikim. And after his death, we realized that there were a lot of Sipurei Tzadikim about my father. My father was a very special person, and he was constantly working on himself, and he was constantly improving himself. And it wasn't just that he stopped at the age of 25 making himself better. Every day of his life, until the end of his life, was always another day of avodas Hashem, serving Hashem properly, or trying to serve Hashem in the best way. And after his life, we actually started collecting from people and from family members and from all over the world. We had hundreds and hundreds of stories. My younger brother Yitzi right now is in the middle of putting together a book about my father, and he called me the other night. He said, "Eli, I have 55 to 60,000 words already." Just to put that into reference, I Googled how big is a Harry Potter book. The first Harry Potter book is 75,000 words approximately. So there's a whole volume of stories about our father, and that's very special to us. I'd like to share some of them with you, and I hope that you get chizuk from it and you could apply the lessons learned to your own lives, and that should be Le'iloi Nishmasai Began Eden. It should elevate his soul in Gan Eden. Around 10 years ago, during the yeshiva's midwinter vacation, my father said to me, "Eli, are you doing anything?" I said, "Yeah, as a matter of fact, we're taking the family down to Florida. We're going to go to Disney World." I said to him, "Abba, would you like to go with us?" My father had never been to Florida. He had never been to Disney World. And he said, "Sure, I'll go with you." He looked forward to spending the time with his children and grandchildren and resting up and getting to learn a little bit extra besides his regular learning schedules. So he came on the trip with us, and on one of the days we went to Magic Kingdom. And trust me, my father had no interest in Magic Kingdom because he didn't like rides. He didn't really care for the themes of Disney World. He appreciated it. He found it very interactive, and he found it that it was a lot of artistic qualities there. But in regard to the actual park, he wasn't really enjoying himself so much, but he was enjoying the time with his children and his grandchildren very much. So it came time for Mincha, and we were looking to daven Mincha, and I was going around and I found out that there was a minyan underneath the castle in the center of the park. So I go to my father very excited. They say, "Abba, I found a minyan. Let's go daven." He said to me, "Eli, I'd much rather wait till later. You go. I'll daven later by the car." I said, "Abba, we have a minyan. There's no other minyan by the car." He said, "Eli, trust me. I would like to daven later." But I kept on pushing him. I kept on nudging him. And finally he said, "Fine, I'll daven with you." So we daven, and there were around 30, 40 people davening there together. Later that evening, we get back to the villa which we had rented in Orlando. And he turns to me and says, "Eli, I got to tell you something. Come here." So I come next to him. I sit down next to him. And he says, "I just want you to know the following. Today was the first time in 40 years that I davened without wearing a hat, mincha or ma'ariv. By Shachris, he always wore a talis, obviously. It's the first time in 40 years I davened without wearing a hat." Now, I need you to understand, boys, My father never spoke about himself and the way that he served Hashem. That wasn't his method. My father just performed. He was the most consistent person in the world. Day in and day out, he just did what he had to do. And he did the right thing almost all the time. And he never spoke about how to serve Hashem, when to serve Hashem. He just did, and we watched him. So it was the first time he ever shared something like this with me. I say, Abba, I'm so sorry. I didn't mean to take you away from that special minhag that you have to wear your hat all the time. He said, no, it's okay. I daven with a minyan. I'm very happy. Yiddishkeit is not about contest. It's not about streaks. I was able to do this for 40 years. Emir Hashem, for the next 40 years, I should be able to do it as well. I thought about it afterwards, and yeah, my father always wore his hat when he davened. He had a special kavod, a special honor for davening. Now, I'm not here to tell you whether it's better to daven with a hat, without a minyan, without a hat, with a minyan. That's not my... Everyone could take what they want to take out of the story. However, one thing is for sure. My father was very consistent in his avodas Hashem. He loved serving Hashem. And even at the end of his life, when I had the schus to go visit him in the hospital many, many times over, and there were days when he wanted to put on tefillin, and he was so sick, he had no strength left, but he put on tefillin, and he would cry when he would say the brachos. He cried, literally tears streaming down his face as he put on tefillin. The last Yom Kippur of his life, the second to last Yom Kippur of his life, my father couldn't fast. And the doctor said, you have to drink. You have to have shot glasses of orange juice, and you have to have it every 9 minutes. I forget the exact time that they said, but you have to drink, Rabbi Herzberg. So my father was very tzibrochen, and it was only until I got a posek to actually call him. I called up a certain posek, and I said, can you please call my father, tell him he has to drink? And the posek called, and he told him, Rabbi Herzberg, you have to drink. So it was only then that my father calmed down. But on Yom Kippur, he was in shul, and I went with him into a private room, and I had prepared for him 1 ounce glasses, and I filled them up with orange juice, and he started to make a bracha. And as he said the bracha, his hands started to shake, and tears again streaming down his face. He knew he was doing the right thing that he needed to do. But still, to eat on Yom Kippur, it bothered him so much that he was literally crying and bawling as he's making a bracha of shehakol on orange juice. But that was the type of person that he was. Another aspect of my father's avodas Hashem, serving Hashem, was his learning. My father loved to learn. I'm going to share with you a picture right now in that trip that we had at Disney World. We were in Epcot Center, and this is a picture of my father learning. He took out a sefer, he sat down on a bench, and I happened to have a camera with me then, and I just took a picture because I knew it was a special picture because it captures who my father was and his love of learning Torah. Every Shabbos morning, my father would be up very early. He would be learning Medrash Rabbah, and he would... for hours, you would be able to hear his voice singing over the words of Chazal as he went through the Medrash on the Parsha. Every vacation day, learning. During the summer, my father would be sitting outside with an iced coffee, just learning for hours on end. He would just sit and learn. He would have a portable phone next to him. Sometimes Rabbi Kamenetsky would call him. Sometimes Rabbi would call him, and they would discuss certain issues that yeshivas have and that they have to solve, hiring teachers, taking kids into school. But the second that it ended, he would open up a sefer and he would go back to learning. That was his whole life. He loved learning, and he loved that time to himself. Which brings me to the next topic, which many people don't talk about always because they only like to portray things in only the most positive way. But I want to share with you something that I think there's something to learn from, especially for people who are already older in life, For the kids, maybe not so, but for the Rebbeim that are watching this also, it's something very important. For years, I was zocher to work with my father for 17 years. For years, my father would talk to me and say, Eli, when I turn 70 years old, I'm going to retire, I'll semi-retire, I'm going to work something out, I'm going to be able to learn for more hours every day. I'm going to be able to learn. That's what I want to do. I want to be able to learn half a day. I want to be able to counsel people in chinuch for half a day. But I want to be able to learn. Learn. And my father got to learn. But he didn't get to learn the amount that he really wanted to. He had a very busy job. Unfortunately, my father passed away at the age of 69. And his lifelong dream of being able to learn never materialized. Of being able to learn many hours straight on a regular basis. It never materialized. And I realized from that part of his life that if a person has a desire to accomplish something, whether it's in learning, in Avodas Hashem, in Gemilas Chasadim, in their job, if you want to accomplish, don't push things off. Today is the day to do. Don't say I'm going to do it tomorrow. Because tomorrow might not come. You have to do today what you can do today. If you want to learn Shisha Sidrei Mishnayos, start. Go do it. If you want to learn Shas, pick up the Gemara and just do it. Start. If you want to learn through Chumash, Rashi, pick it up. Do it. Don't say I'm going to do it, because it sometimes doesn't come. It sometimes doesn't happen. My father had a very close connection to his Rebbeim throughout his life. One of them was Rabbi Shlomo Freifeld. He's in this picture right over here. Another one that my father was very close with was Rav Aaron Schechter. Here's a beautiful picture of both of them. And another person that my father got to meet was Reb Chaim Kanievsky. In this picture, my father is seen speaking to Reb Chaim Kanievsky. It's the only time my father met him in his life. And you would think that a person would go speak to Reb Chaim Kanievsky, so they would ask for a bracha for themselves. But that wasn't my father. My father had a very pressing question that he didn't know the answer to. And it involved twins, and it involved twins going to a high school, and one wanted to go to one high school, one wanted to go to a different high school, and my father wasn't sure what was the best move for one of the children to do or both of the children to do. The details aren't as important as what I'm about to tell you. When my father went on that one trip to Reb Chaim Kanievsky in his life, he didn't even ask for a bracha for himself. The thing that they are discussing in this picture right here is about my father's Talmidim. What is the best thing for them to do? What does halacha say they should do? Afterwards, we asked my father, Abba, did you ask for a bracha? He said, bracha? Why do I need a bracha? Everything is geschmack. Everything's great. I don't need anything. He was always about his Talmidim. And one last thing about my father, Reb Chanina Getzel ben Reb Moshe Alav Shalom. You know, as kids, we sometimes give in to peer pressure. Peer pressure is very strong. My father told me he had charata in his life. One time in his life, he gave in to peer pressure. It was something about one of his children, about a certain yeshiva. One time he gave in to peer pressure. He was as authentic as they came. He kemat never gave in to pressure from anyone. He always tried to do what was the right thing. That's it. Do what is right. Don't worry about what other people are going to think or say. You have to do what is right in the eyes of Hashem. And that's how he lived his life. One time, he told me, he gave in to peer pressure, and he had charata until the last day of his life. He always had charata over the decision that he made because it came from peer pressure. Boys, my fellow Rebbeim, we should learn from the life of our illustrious Menahel, Alav Shalom. He was a very special person. He cared about all of us deeply. He cared about all of you, all of his Talmidim he cared about. All the kochos that he put into all of us was because he knew that it's going to be for generations. And it's not just for the moment. So I want to thank you for watching this. I want to thank you for listening. May his neshama have an aliyah. And may we all march to Yerushalayim, Bikarov, to greet Mashiach Tzidkenu B'mhera V'yameinu. Have a wonderful day, boys.